Okay, good evening. It's about that time. Thank you all for being here tonight. We did have about 288 RSVPs, so I'm hoping the rain or whatever weather out there doesn't keep them, but there's a lot of room spread out. You can go to the back, the front, anywhere you want to go. So my name is Olivia Huey. I am the Director of Counseling here at Mater Dei. Welcome all juniors and parents and guardians. So what you see up here on the screen, if you weren't able to sign in, you can go ahead and sign in here. Both students and parents should be signing in. And then for parents, if you brought a device, you didn't have to, but it'd be nice to follow along. Here's our guest Wi-Fi. You can go ahead and get on our Wi-Fi because we have a little bit of an interactive presentation today. All right. Okay, so we're going to get started in a prayer. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Heavenly Father, as these juniors embark on their college journey, we ask for your wisdom and guidance. Calm their hearts amidst uncertainty. Strengthen them in moments of doubt, and remind them that their worth is not measured by test scores or acceptance letters, but by the love and purpose you have for them. Grant them clarity as they explore their passions, patience as they navigate deadlines, and confidence in the unique path you have set before them. Surround them with supportive mentors, family, and friends who uplift and encourage them. Above all, help them trust in your plan, knowing that wherever they go, you will walk with them. May they find peace in the journey and joy in the opportunities ahead. And Lord, please pray for their parents. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. I think parents need more prayers during this process. Anyway, welcome to our college kickoff for juniors. Hopefully you are able to get on the Wi-Fi. We are going to get started. How many of you have played the Kahoot? Oh, good. Okay, so great. We're going to play a Kahoot. So we are going to get on the Kahoot. So go ahead and scan the code, put the game pin in. We will wait for our players. And students, you're with your parents, so only good things up there. And parents, you're with your students, so only good things up there as you answer some of these questions. I know, it's a lot of decision making on what emoji to put up there, what avatar. This is by far going to be your favorite part of the presentation. Okay, and 5, 4, 3, this is my gym instructor's countdown. Please hurry up. 2, and 1. All right, we'll get started here. Three, two, 1. Okay, in case you didn't know, you are here for the college kickoff for juniors. The college kickoff you've been waiting for. Let's go ahead. So these are all of our counselors. You will meet all of them tonight, and you will hear from each one of us. And we have a special guest speaker, a Mater Dei alum, Chelsea Passamano. She is an admissions counselor from LMU, so we're very lucky to have her and all of your counselors here to help introduce the college admissions journey. So the agenda tonight, we'll be going through college admissions, how to stand out in the process, how to get started, kind of going through a timeline of what you need to do and when. Thanks for all the hearts. I appreciate that. I did turn that on for that purpose. We'll talk a little bit about Naviance, the importance of college research, creating your list, testing pros and cons, modern day resources, and there's a lot of college counselors out there that we know of, we don't know of, but how to use those independent consultants well. And as your juniors may or may have not told you, the counselors were in the English classrooms yesterday and today giving an abbreviated version of this presentation. So I told them to come anyway because there's a lot more that they didn't hear about in their English classes today and yesterday. Okay, a word cloud. Go ahead. What excites you the most about the college admissions journey? You can type your answers. Hopefully that's working for you. I will laugh if parents say, when my kid leaves. Yeah, there's some tears and tears of joy maybe. All right, let's see what people wrote here. Ooh, finding the right fit, essays. Somebody's excited about the essays, I love that. A test? Wow, leaving home, leaving MD, possibilities, the end of it. Let me tell you, it's not the end of it. It's still a journey. Food and sleep, finding a school, good future. Okay, deciding where I want to go, acceptance letters, new place and people, getting in, the food, good job. Adulting, super fun. All right, new adventures. Okay, all good things. So I'm going to take a poll. This can be a stressful process, so just asking you, how stressed are you right now about the college admissions process? Not at all stressed, a little bit stressed, very stressed, wake up at night in cold sweat stressed. Okay, not too bad. 8 people, we gotta talk. There's chalk here, we can definitely talk you down the ledge. All right, so we are gonna play a little game. Like I said, it's interactive. I need 8 volunteers. It can be both students and parents, but I don't want all parents up here. So, 8 volunteers, let's go. Come on up. Come on up. I'll just pick Victoria since you were first. Yeah, come on up. You're gonna hold. 6 more. Thank you. How about students? Yes, you, come on. Yes, here. Let's go. Go back. Yeah. Good it. Yes. Okay. So, anyone else? Students, come on, be brave. Be brave. You don't have to do any talking, I promise. Just walking. Okay, here you go. There you go. Okay. Thank you. Okay. You have to be in order of your GPA. Okay. So you're just going to follow my instructions, my students. You are all in the college admissions process, okay? So you're going to listen to what I say and move accordingly. This is the top. And then, can anybody, one of my counselors, take pictures for Instagram? You have signed off. Okay, so here we go. You're gonna, all my students here, you're gonna look at the back of your card and follow instructions. Okay, you have taken an exceptionally strong academic program. Move up 2 spaces. 2 spaces, no, move up. Like move in the line, not up that way, but this way. Yeah, like jump the GPAs. Jump the 2 people. There you go. Okay. If you play a musical instrument in the school band, move up 1 space. There you go. Okay. If you clearly stated that this college is your first choice by making an early decision application and commitment, move up 2 spaces. Oh, good. If your intended major is psychology, that was mine, or pre-med, also mine, move back one space. Oh, lots of people do that, right? If your intended major is computer science, move up one space. If you do not know any of your teachers well enough to ask for a recommendation, move back 2 spaces. You attended an enriching summer program between your junior and senior year, move up 1 space. The topic of your personal statement was sports as a metaphor for life. Move down 2 spaces. Let's see. You plagiarized your personal statement and ChatGPT'd it and got caught. Move down 3 spaces. Oh yeah. Goodbye. Okay. You've participated in community service. Move up 1 space. You did not write the optional essay for your college application. Move down 1 space. You are an Eagle Scout or Gold Award. Move up 2 spaces. Okay. Uh-oh. You forgot to change the name of the college when typing the essay that was sent to several different schools. Shame on you. Move down 3 spaces. Oh, sorry. You guys have to check. You decided not to take AP classes even though your school and your counselor told you to because you wanted to protect your GPA. Wah wah. Move down 1 space. Okay, let's see here. Oh, you participated in no extracurricular activities. Move down 1 space. Okay, let's see here. Oh, your family member was a big donor and the college library is named after them. You go to the top. Go to the front. Okay. I know, such is life, right? So, hold up your GPA. Okay, yeah. So, as you can see, thank you volunteers, as you can see, this process, thank you, this process is not what you think, right? And so oftentimes we'll hear, well, how did that girl get in? My GPA is better than hers, or I'm a better student. We do not know what is in the application. We do not know how each college determines who is a fit, who they need. They have what's called college priorities. You know, you don't know the circumstances, so never assume, and that's just me, right? We don't know. We can never assume what the shoes that people walk in. Even if their GPA is lower, you don't know the circumstances, right? So never judge, be celebratory, and like I said in that video for juniors, God has a plan, right? And sometimes a closed door is for a purpose, so that you can focus on an open door that God had intended for you the whole time, right? You never know. You might meet a spouse, a best friend, you never know. All right. So I love this book. Where you go is not who you will be. His name is Frank Brunei, and he said college is a match to be made and not a prize to be won, right? We often hear, where do you want to go, where do you want to go, where do you want to go? And it's like, oh, you hear college and some people are like, oh. And then you hear another college and you're like, oh. We all know what those colleges are. So we just want to be careful of being that way to our students, because this is their journey, right? And everything is an accomplishment, and they have their own places that will fit them. And why do we talk about fit? You want to find a sense of belonging, right? Even though there's a brand name school, that might not be the best fit for you. So you want to find your people. Retention is important. Are they retaining their students at these schools? Do they have a high retention rate? Well, what does that tell you? It tells you that people are happy there. Do you want to save money? Is that, affordability is a part of a fit. You want to have a balanced list, okay? When I say balanced, it's also like reach, target, and likely, which we'll talk about later, but also different types of schools. You may be like, I just want a big, ESPNU school, and you never look at smaller schools, but that might be the best fit for you. So really be open. It reduces the stress and anxiety in the process. You can think about big fish, small pond philosophy, or do you want to be a small fish in a big pond? And then think about, do you want to go to graduate school? Oftentimes, many students do have to go on past undergrad. So remember, and I told this to students earlier, there's around 4,000 schools in this country alone, not to mention, all over the world. There is a college for everyone. Oftentimes people think about the top 20, 25. There's so many schools out there, and there is a college for everyone. And I love Elf. I know it's not Christmas, but I can watch this movie all day. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and pass it along to Mrs. Nguyen. Oh, and then I did forget. So as we introduce ourselves, I told the team to tell you all where we went to school and a fun, appropriate activity we did in college, right? So I went to UC Irvine undergrad, and my favorite activity was student orientation. I had to stay in the dorms with all the incoming freshmen in the summer, and it was the best thing I ever did. So that's it.
Hello, thank you. I'm Mary Beth Nguyen, one of the counselors upstairs, and I typically have last name students C through H-ish, so that's if that's your last name, I've probably met you, and if not, again, we'd like to get to know all of you guys. But I went to Cal Poly Pomona after being completely undecided for all K-12 of high school, and not knowing what I wanted to do, and undeclared, but I got to campus at Cal Poly Pomona and just took a personal tour through it with my parents, and I really liked it. A couple of my favorite things that I discovered at Cal Poly Pomona was that there were horses on campus, and I haven't grown up with horses, but I signed up for the club to take care of the baby foals on campus, and that was just really cool for me. Even though I didn't do animal science, that was always something that was personal. So when I got to campus, that was a cool thing that I did. So with college, I like what she was saying about when you're thinking about colleges, you'll have some O and O schools, and getting past names is something that we all have to really work hard on doing, because name recognition only goes so far. And like Ms. Huey said, there's about 4,000 schools in the U.S. alone, about 2,000 four-years, 2,000 community colleges, and a bunch out of country as well. And looking beyond the name and considering those fit factors. And every school is going to be different. Just because you've heard of it doesn't mean it's better. Just because it's on a U.S. news list, ranked in a certain ranking, it doesn't mean it's better for you. And so if you value of name brand schools is important to you, challenge yourself by finding and listing out 5 to 7 reasons why you like that school if you started with name brand. Because a lot of schools, they have different values, they have different feelings on campus, they are all different, even if they're famous or not. Some successful alumni can be found anywhere. Steve Carroll, actor from Denison University, Ohio. Martha Stewart, home guru, Barnard College in New York. Angie Hicks, founder of Angie's List, DePaul University. Cedric Dempsey, former executive of the NCAA, Albion College, Michigan. George Lucas, film director, Modesto Junior College, but then transferred to USC. And Francis Clare, University of San Francisco. So fit is a really huge part about college and the whole list making process. So the point that you're in junior year now, it gives you time to really wheel down your list of where you're going to spend all of your time and money applying. And we really recommend like 6 to 10 schools on your actual application list. And sometimes it doesn't sound like enough. A lot of students apply to too many. Some students apply to like 20 or 30 colleges, and we really don't recommend that because it costs a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of stress to apply places. So we want to make a balanced list. And with FIT, it comes down to your personal values and your personal interests, the academic and career options at that university, and the financial options that are available to you specifically. 13 factors that can include involve location, Are you going to drive there? Are you going to take the train? Is there public transportation? If it's outside of California, it might be better or worse. Public transit, like if you go to the East Coast, it'd probably be better, but that means you have to fly to get there. Is it a direct flight, indirect flight? Is that a factor for cost? The location has a lot to do with it. And the size of the campus. They're super small. There are some colleges that are even smaller than Mater Dei. Mater Dei has about 2,000 students, and there are colleges much smaller than that. But there's also colleges that have 40,000 undergrads on campus too. So size is big. Cost, it can range from free for community college to transfer to a lot of money. And so that can factor in the tuition and the housing itself. So those are two numbers that are going to add up if you're going to live on campus, but there's a lot of factors with that. Sometimes the more expensive the school, hopefully the more discounts they'll have, so the prices can tend to balance out, but the costs are big factors. Academic offerings, what courses exist, what are they known for, what's available, average debt upon graduation, safety on campus, how do you feel, what's available to you, internships and research opportunities, academic support and academic services, retention efforts and advising. So that means do people transfer out after their first or second year? What's that like? Most popular student events, like college climate. Is it a commuter school? So a lot of schools in the Reading City area are very commuter oriented. So you might just drive to class and drive off campus to work. And it can be hard to see like, oh, let's go out to eat. If you're dorming there and stuff could be closed, but you never know what the campus is like. Graduation rates, are people graduating from that college? Student groups, employment rates, and companies hiring graduates in the area. And for you, finding the right fit really comes down to your personal preferences, values, goals, and what you feel as a sense of belonging. And that's kind of what it comes down to, and a lot of the factors below factor in. And conveying those personal values is going to be the part on your essays that can really speak to that. Spirituality and faith, if that's a value that you want to continue at the college level. Even if you go to a public university, they will still have like a Newman Center or a Catholic group, and they have masses on most campuses available. Academically leaning learning environments, affordability, and then beyond tuition is, like I was saying, flights, miles to and from, average cost of living out of state. There's colleges, California is an expensive place to live, so sometimes going out of state could be the same price, if not more or less. Self-reliance and independence. We'll talk more about that, but this is for the students to practice their independence throughout this process. There's a lot of things you have to manage throughout the process, but we're all here to help. Interests and outside of academics, and just getting outside your comfort zone, but not so out of it that you don't find your people. So those are big factors when it comes to fit. So what qualities do you believe make a good college fit for you personally? Got like 20 seconds. Environment, location, student activities, positive energy, culture, affordable, fun environment, community, correct major for you, the school, large population, good academics and student life majors, education opportunities, diversity, class, location, and a college with open variety of arts and people so I can connect more with the community there.
Cute students, okay. You can go on niche, it'll tell you that, actually. All right, so how to build a balanced list. I did mention this earlier. Around 8 to 10 schools, even 12. You want to have some reach schools, and that's okay, right? But you don't want to have all the reach schools that you get so many denials. And usually reach is less than 20% admit rate, even if your GPA and test scores are at the mark, like Ivy Leagues, for example, Stanford, UCLA, or their average GPA test scores are above yours. You want to focus on your target schools. You have 3 to 4. Your GPA test scores fit in their middle 50%. And your likely schools, maybe a couple of those, and they should meet these 3 criteria. You love it. You can get in, and you can afford it. Oftentimes our students will say, I'm just going to apply there, but I don't even want to go. And I'm like, why would you apply there? Why would you spend time and money to apply if you don't even want to go there? There's so many options, so really find ones that you know would be a good fit for you. And examples of resources that we'll offer as you sit down with your counselor and on our website. We have college fast facts from the college fair. How many of you went to the college fair? Good, yeah, so all the colleges that attended had some facts, and then you can just remove the name of the school so you're not biased and look strictly at the facts to see what speaks to you in terms of the colleges out there, okay? All right. Naviance as a research tool, and then we have Mr. Chang, who's going to talk about that.
Good evening, I'm Mr. Joshua Chang. Colleges that I've attended. I got my master's at Chapman University. I've also studied at UC Irvine for some graduate school, as well as Chalmette University in Honolulu. I got my undergraduate at Vanguard University, right next door. And I also took some foreign language classes at Irvine Valley College. So if you want to talk to me about any of those types of schools, out of state, in-state, public, small, chat me up. Okay, on to Naviance. So Naviance, every junior, about 98% of juniors got logged in today for Naviance, either today or yesterday. Parents, good news, we can also grant you access if you like that tool. Just email your counselor and we can go ahead and activate that for you. Naviance is a tool in which you can learn about your student, where they take personality inventories, career interest profiles, help them select their majors, so that we can find out, if they're, what types of careers would fit an extrovert or introvert. That tool has recommendations for you. We also have a resume builder. Part of your college app process is providing the counselor with a resume, and that tool helps you find keywords and topics to go ahead and format that. College in thinking about here, you can bookmark or favorite colleges that you're interested in if it comes up on your search and a recommendation. I want to remember that. You can start compiling lists. You can start with 20 schools. We hope to pare it down to maybe 10 as you get closer and closer to applications. By going to bookmark it, that one's interesting. That one has something that I might like, a major that I might like. You can go ahead and just use that as your database. So Naviance has a cool tool. It's called Scattergrams, where you can see historically at modern day, students have applied there and gone there. Like, I heard X amount of students applied to Notre Dame. Is it get competitive, or are they getting in? You can use that tool to see if it is something that you might want to consider, because it is competitive. We're going to give you an example of a scatter plot for a school. I believe this is an anonymous school, but you can see obviously the green check marks are the school means that have been accepted. They're having a higher GPA, which is the top access. The other one is the SAT scores. So students tend to get into schools if they have higher GPAs and higher SAT scores. There are a few exceptions that are below the average. Those may be for extenuating circumstances. Maybe they're really ranked in a national sport or academic field. Those are the reasons why some of those other students might get in, or they have really strong extracurriculars. You saw those different factors that students might move up or down the scale. Sometimes it's not all about GPA. Researching and building your list. We touched on it throughout the night. Finding your fit. Is it the major? Is it the location? You'll see schools like, this school has 40,000 people. Like, but I don't like, not knowing my professor. You look at classroom size ratios. There's so many different factors that you need to find out what's important to you. Being open-minded, just seeing what the Naviance offers you might be something like, don't shut it out just because I haven't heard of it. Look into it. The tool gives you acceptance rates, admissions rates, so much data that your counselor can review with you during the one-on-one meetings, which we'll be having the next 6 weeks. And also affordability. that is also part of the obvious, so it tells you tuition, the latest tuition costs. Now I'm going to be passing on to Chelsea. All of you, come on up.
Alright, hi everybody. My name is Chelsea Passamano. I'm an admission counselor from Loyola Marymount University. I went to Mater Dei. I'm from Orange County, Irvine specifically, and so I went to LMU. I have a bachelor's degree in business administration. I did the yoga teaching credential through their extension program as well, and I have a master's in guidance and counseling from LMU, so I'm like a triple alum from there. So I'm happy to answer any of those questions. A fun fact about me is in college, I participated in special games every year, and that started with volunteering when I was at Mater Dei, participating in special games here. And so that's my little fun fact. So I'm going to share about the admission criteria. And so some factors to consider is that there may be some more weight in terms of certain aspects of the application, depending on the school you're applying to, if they're looking at academics more heavily, or if it's a holistic review. And so some things to keep in mind is that schools will be looking at the high school grades, the college preparation courses, the total high school grades as well, and then the strength of the high school curriculum, your essay, interests that you are involved in, like if you're interested in going to that school. Recommendations, the counselor, the teacher recommendation, extracurricular activities, high school rank. I know Mater Dei doesn't rank here. Yeah, I don't see that on the application. And then admission test scores as well. All right, so some things that you can control and some things that you cannot. So let's focus on what you can control. So you can control your academic excellence, your test grades, your extracurricular activities, any unique attributes, your recommendations, interviews, if applicable, demonstrated interest, which application you decide to apply to. That's early action, early decision, prayer. Things you cannot control, college priorities. You have no idea what the school is looking for. Impacted majors, that is something that is ever changing. The reader's mood and biases. So you don't know where you are in that day when an admission counselor is reading their applications. We're averaging about 50 applications a day. So you don't know, are you at the beginning, are you at the end, are you in the middle? Did they just read an application that may have been a little heavy? Like, are they reading yours? So you don't, those are things you cannot control. So let's focus on each thing that you can control. So academic factors. So your transcripts, the rigor of your classes. Are you enrolled in rigor? Are you enrolled in honors? Are you enrolled in AP? How did you do in those classes? So trends in grades, so that's going to look like, is it a downward trend? Is it an upward trend? Is it a downward trend in grades with upward increase in rigor? So there's going to be trends in terms of the grades that the admission counselors will be looking at. Also, if your GPA, sometimes the schools will recalculate them. So it'll recalculate differently depending on the school. Mater Dei reports weighted. So my recommendation for you when you're submitting your applications, if there's a section for you to submit your GPA, make sure you put the weighted and make sure you input something, because that usually overrides what else, the GPA elsewhere. So if it's in there, just make sure you submit something. Any courses outside of Mater Dei, so like dual enrollment, online programs, college programs, things like that, so include that information. Standardized tests, so there's all these different terminology. Test optional, test blind, test free, test flexible, required, super score. Have you all heard of these? Yeah, so test optional, it's entirely up to you if you'd like to submit the scores. Basically what it looks like, it's neither positive nor negative. It's not an advantage or a disadvantage. So it's up to you in terms of submitting it. Basically when it's test optional, it's like the admission committee will look at it if it's there, but if it's not there, they don't know what they don't see. So it's up to you if you want to include it. I would recommend asking the schools for medium averages. Like what's the range? What's the medium range? To see for admitted students, and then if you might fall in that range, then that can give you an idea if it would be a good idea to submit it for test optional. Test blind and test free basically means if you submit it, they're not going to look at it. They're not even looking at test scores. Test flexible means if you get to choose which scores you're going to submit. So is at AP, so advanced placement or IB, International Baccalaureate, or ACT or SAT, so you get a pick. Required means that if you do not submit your test scores, your application is incomplete. So you have to submit your test scores. Super score is the composite score that combines the student's best scores from multiple attempts. So that's what a super score is. And then scholarships can be determined based off of the standardized test, depending on the school. Some schools might even look at the standardized test as well if your GPA is on the lower range, but you have a high standardized test, so that is something to consider as well. So personal factors, recommendations. So ask somebody that you have a positive and a current relationship with. If you didn't do well in the class, do not ask that teacher. If they are your 8th grade professor or teacher, maybe try somebody that is a little bit more current. So current and positive. Teachers will be honest. So I have read recommendations that are like, I'm not sure why they asked me to write this. So make sure you have a positive relationship with them, because it's going to give the admission committee context of like who this person is in that community. So how are they in the classroom? How do they engage with their community? How are they in school? So like the teacher will give the context for the classroom, counselors will give the context for the school and community. So it's helpful to have a positive relationship or to get to know them. Other people that could write recommendations will look like a coach, a pastor, or a supervisor. And then there's others as well. Personal essays, this is an opportunity to share more about yourself that we wouldn't be able to gather elsewhere on your application. If there's something about your identity you wish us to know, an accomplishment, an experience that shaped your life, if it's a situation that provides insight to maybe a dip in your academic grades, that can be helpful. Just be mindful how you share that information, especially if it is a heavy topic. So I like to recommend using a structure of like what happened, what did you learn, and then how are you using this information moving forward with your essays. And so that's helpful. Supplemental essays is about you and the school. So that's an opportunity to showcase the research that you've done. What did you learn? What do you like about the school? How do you see yourself fitting in? Did you have any family or friends that attended that school? And then are you hoping to get involved in any sports or organizations? So that's a section where you could put that information. So there's application types, early action, early decision. Early action is binding. Pause for a second. Early action is non-binding. Early decision is binding. So early decision means if you are accepted, early decision, you're committed to going to that school. It's like a marital contract. You're going to withdraw your application from everywhere else. So if you don't feel that way, that's totally fine. Just apply early action, which is non-binding. The deadlines are like October 15th, November 1, November 15th, depending on the school. So the benefits is that you get admission counselors that are pretty fresh. We're just starting our reading season. It shows demonstrated interest just by applying through early action or early decision. You get it done early, it's less stressful for you, your second semester or like during the holidays. You hear back earlier, and there is a slightly higher acceptance rate for early decision, early action. So keep that in mind as well. I do know some students might wait to apply regular decision because they might want to include grades from their first semester senior year. But at LMU, I actually recommend that students apply early action or early decision because it does get a little bit more competitive regular decision just due to quantity and everything. So that's specific to LMU, so you can ask which schools you're interested in. So other things that you can control are extracurricular activities, so meaningful and impactful activities that longevity, relevant to your interest, leadership, any awards, so is that through school, local, regional, state, national? Are there any service awards? Have you submitted a film to a film festival and you received an award, or were you a finalist? Are you an Eagle Scout? Are you a Gold Award for Girl Scouts? Are you working towards those awards? So keep that in mind. Competitions, if you're a CIF championship, if you're a finalist, if you're a competitive dancer or gymnast, speech and debate, academic decathlon, Model UN, mock trials, the robotics team. So keep in mind for those types of competitions of what you're involved in. Passion projects, did you start a small business? Are you a founder of a service organization or club on campus? Did you raise money for a cause? have you published a book, or have you completed research? Service, quantify those hours. Internships, independent research. Work, also quantify those hours. Pre-college programs as well, that's something that you can include. Church involvement, if you're involved in a community, like Bible study, Kairos retreats, campus ministry, confirmation leader, so those are some other things that you can include. Unique attributes, so special talent, extraordinary achievement. I read an application recently, I was a professional Irish dancer, so that is something that's unique. So professional athletes, so gymnasts, those that might compete internationally, those are some junior Olympics, things along those lines. Compelling personal stories, so there's family dynamics and relationships, so say you take care of your siblings, you pick them up, you drive them to school and pick them up, and then you help them with their homework and you help them with food and meal preparation and all of that. So that's something to include in terms of family dynamics and responsibilities. Overcoming extraordinary challenges as well. So with demonstrated interest, these are the different ways that you can show demonstrated interest. So schools that track demonstrated interest will start a profile on you. So if you attend a college visit or go to Mater Dei's college fair, you fill out an inquiry card or you use StriveScan, what the school is doing is gathering information on you as a student, creating a profile, and then any engagement that you do with that school is going to be tracked, and that is what demonstrated interest is. So if that school tracks demonstrated interest, fill out those inquiry cards each time you see them. Open those emails. We use a CRM system that tracks how many, if you open the email, how many times is the email open, and did you click on any links in that email? So if the school is tracking that demonstrated interest, be mindful of that, open your emails. You can go on those college tours, attend during the season, like when the school is in session, to get an idea of what the campus life is like, because it's really important to understand what it's like when the campus is alive. Attend when there's bad weather. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, so go when it's not the best weather. And so visit the websites. If it is demonstrated interest, when you reach out to the rep, they'll likely document that too. So you're gonna ideally reach out to the representative and then complete those supplemental essays as well. So interviews, if they're available, if anything is optional, just do it. Even though it says optional, just complete it. Interviews will add value to your application. Meet with the college representative or the alumni rep, and then practice. Be your authentic self. Okay, so now we're going to do a Kahoot. So what is the question? What do you think makes you stand out in this process? And then you have 20 seconds. So what do you think makes you stand out in this process? 3 seconds. Did I put it? There we go. Okay, so we got community, extracurriculars, your unique life circumstances, church involvement, you're well-rounded, incredibly special, I love that. My genius, that's top notch. Academics and athlete, being involved in different activities and your grades. This is great. Leadership experience, perfect. Alrighty, and so I will leave you with this quote, if I can get there. Don't try to impress me, but instead make me want to cheer for you. So just be your authentic self. Just be yourself. Don't submit an application or write things that you think that the committee wants to know. We want to know who you are as an individual, so just be yourself. Alrighty. All right, thanks everyone.
Okay. Good evening. I am Counselor Mrs. Martinez. I went to undergrad at Kessler Fullerton for my grad program of LMU grad. Favorite part of LMU was probably the Sacred Chapel. I think that was a place where I visited a couple times during the semester, especially during finals. So I will be honest, I do relate to one of the factors of contributing to that LMU was a place where I felt connected. So when we do share them with our students, I always kind of invite them to visit, because it might be great in pictures, but you have to be there and feel like you can see yourself for the next 4 years. That being said, like we shared, the last 2 days we've been with our juniors, and this slide up here was the timeline that we provided. And many of them were kind of nervous and kind of like, oh no, I'm behind, right? But I think it really broke down what we're looking for, what we're helping you through the next month as they finish their junior year. So we wanted to make sure they identify the recommenders, start searching colleges, visit colleges, right? Some on spring break, in the summer, begin thinking of their personal statement, which is very important, and review the checklist, plan for summer. Those are the biggest things that we want them to start kind of emphasizing. So how to choose a recommender? That is one of the biggest things we actually get asked as counselors. Basically, we actually advise them to look for the junior level teachers preferred, because those are the ones that they actually get to know a little bit more, especially junior year. Someone that we can actually speak about the following, right? Work ethic, ability to work with peers, leadership in class, intellectual curiosity, classroom engagement, resilience. All these things are very important because junior teachers most likely would see that. We want to make sure they ask one teacher. That is what we're asking. So we are, and we'll get to that in the next slide, but we are asking for a teacher in the discipline of interest, right? So if you are a biology major, you probably want to ask your chemistry, biology teacher, someone that is actually going to have really good things to say during that, in that major. Someone that likes you, knows you well. So that is one thing that we want to make sure we start developing the relationships. If you didn't really talk to that teacher, it's probably not a good idea to just show up and say, can you write a letter? So that is one thing that we want to emphasize. The process, that is very important. Why is that important? Because oftentimes we have students that come and actually say, I don't know who to ask. And oftentimes, and I hear that quite a lot, our teachers get bombarded at the very end with all these requests. So we came up with a simple process, right? It's actually step number 1. Email your teacher for an appointment. Some teachers might tell you they just want you to just see them during office hour or just connect with them. So not all of them are going to ask for an email for an appointment, but some of them might. So just set up an appointment, email them. Step number 2, ask your teacher in person if they would be willing to write a letter of recommendation. Tell him or her, what are your academic interests? Where are you planning to apply? Remember that this is a favor your teacher is going to do for you. And we say that because oftentimes students, I know that we get into the, this teacher, we shared so many conversations, but oftentimes they get a lot of requests. So we want to make sure our students, our parents are also mindful of that, so we remind them. Step number 3, you send a follow-up confirmation. So once they have the conversation, we ask them to send a follow-up email, thanking them for their time, and also agreeing to write the letter of recommendation. It's kind of like the beginning of the process. And then step number 4, you complete the teacher and counselor brag sheets that are due by June 1st. The brag sheets are information that we get to have students fill out, write about, so then we can have the teachers and the counselors have that, so they can write a letter. Step number 5 is handwrite a thank you card to your teacher. A small token of gratitude, like a coffee card, goes a long way. And why do I say that? Oftentimes we have students that don't realize that a lot of times teachers are doing these letters during the weekend, their free time, and that is a big part of this time that they do and commit. They want to write a good letter, right? The letters are always going to help our students, but it is also something that they have to do. So we want our students to start creating that culture where we actually have them be thankful for the time and writing the letter. Getting the most of your letter. Be very specific. I think oftentimes our students, the brag sheet, or our juniors class will see that. It's questions about the student itself. And the more you write on that brag sheet, probably the better letter you're going to get. So 1 or 2 sentences, 1 or 2 words is not going to really give the recommender or counselors a good sense of what the message is or what actually answering the question means. So I think don't just tell or just show examples, right? And it's very personal. It could be very you. No one reads these recommender brag sheets. It's very teacher, student, counselor, student. So it's not like it's very confidential too. I think a lot of times students don't open or don't share enough because they're like, it doesn't matter. It does matter. So I do encourage our students to be put a lot of detailed thoughts into these brag sheets. Think of simple activities, show lots of heartfelt gratitude, we ask them to finish June 1st for the deadline, and at least 3 weeks in advance for second recommender. So we want to have them start with one recommender. You will probably have another recommender needed for those colleges, and then that's going to be the second round, right? But for the first time, we ask for you to have one secured. The time you spend on the brag sheet will mirror the time the recommender will spend. That is very factual. If you give us a brag sheet that is probably in a 5-minute, here you go, we're not going to have enough information to write you a good letter. So we say that as counselors, and teachers are actually asking us for that as well. So please take your time. It is very important. We are taking our time to do the letter, so please take your time to do the brag sheet. And then the last one, on GPT, we write a lot of letters. Teachers write a lot of letters, so we will know if it's something that you GPT just to write a letter, they do write a brag sheet for a counselor teacher request, right? So the best advice is I always give to my students, let it be yourself. It's your story, it's your brag sheet, it's you. No one else is going to have that, so please use this to be your voice to make sure we write you the best letter for your college application.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mrs. Guzman. I mainly work with the international students here at Mater Dei. For my master's, I attended Cal State Long Beach, and for my undergrad, I attended UC Santa Barbara. Probably one of the most fun memories that I had while attending undergrad was their adventure program. So over the weekend or sometimes during breaks, we would have like small excursions to the Channel Islands or go kayaking, rock climbing with the group. So that was a really good way to kind of explore and also meet other students. Yeah, that was fun about college. So now talking about college research. So the College Power Hour. So once you start with your college research, it's important to dedicate probably an hour a week that you're going to dedicate to really looking into colleges, writing essays, whatever it is that you really want to focus on, but dedicate that time every week that you're going to focus on your college. Make sure you organize yourself. So whether you maybe want to keep everything on Naviance, or you want to do a Word doc, or write a piece of paper, whatever you use that's going to help you stay organized, make sure you do that. Spend at least 2 to 3 hours researching schools. So there's a lot of information out there. You can use websites, there's YouTube, some of the schools even offer virtual tours. Talk to your friends, other peers, if you know any other family members or other students that are already in college, talk to them, how do they like their experience, what have they learned about their colleges. Also, make sure you go visit colleges. You learn a lot by actually being on campus, you get to meet other students, maybe you get to visit the dorms or look at the dining commons, and it tells you a lot about kind of the environment of the school. And when you are visiting the schools or you get to talk to different college reps, make sure that you are asking questions that actually will help you, not easy questions that you're going to be able to find on the websites.
Okay, I'm up here because I'm the only one that can explain this to you. It looks a little crazy, I know, but let me geek out here for a second. So this is a Google Doc, and it is available on our website under the college website under counseling. And I created this where it basically is all color-coded. You can organize your data on here in terms of your research. So you can put down what you want in a school. It tells you what to research on the left-hand side. On the top, you can put in the likelihood of where you're going to be admitted. So if it's a wild card, aka Stanford or Harvard, if it's a reach, maybe Boston College or University of Notre Dame and your targets. And then you're going to answer the 5 to 7 items that you want in your experience first, because there's about 40 different categories or different items on here. And then what you do is you put down what you find, and then you can do the drop down where it says if you like it, or you're indifferent, or you dislike it, and it will automatically compute for you how many likes and dislikes you have, and then it will turn green if it's a good fit and red if it's not. So of the 5 to 7 things that you are researching, if it's mostly red, abandon ship, right? You don't have to spend all that time researching, because 5 to 7 things that are non-negotiables, why would you spend more time? But if it starts to turn green, green means go, red means stop, right? So green means go ahead and spend the time to research all these questions. I'm sure your parents are very excited about this. You're probably like, oh my gosh, in Excel, right? But trust me, when you do the research now, eventually when you decide where you want to apply and where you want to attend, this research tool will come in so much handy. Because then you'll know, you're not gonna just guess, like, I guess I wanna go there. No, it's all, you've done all the research and you know. And then in this tool, there's also a application organizational tool, an essay organizational tool. So you don't have to create anything if you don't want to. We've already created it for you. So there you have it. And then back to Gloria.
All right, a big question that we hear a lot from students and parents is, how do all of the documents get to the colleges? So students, you are responsible to ensure that all of the documents get to the universities. You're responsible to submitting your application, to sending your test scores to the schools, to ordering your transcripts, make sure that they get sent to the school, and also the letters of rec. So students, you are responsible for all of this. We have in the kind of like the timeline, steps for you to know when you should submit all of this. But basically, by the deadline for any of the colleges, you should have all of these submitted. So a little bit about students and parent roles. Parents, I know a lot of times you want to help your students throughout the college process, and yes, you can be their cheerleader and an advisor, but just know that this is the student's process. They are the leaders in this process. When you are communicating with reps or with college counselors, make sure that it is the students that are communicating and not you, the parents. When writing emails or calling the schools, make sure it is the students that are calling and writing these emails. Same with researching colleges, writing essays, completing all parts of the application. It is the students that will be the leaders. Parents, you are definitely welcome to be there as a support for your students, but make sure that they're the ones that are doing all of these steps. And then parents, of course, be their guide, be their cheerleader. When it comes to financial aid, of course, help your students filling out those applications or talking about finances. Help them with scholarship research, setting up campus visits, or even give them feedback on their essays, but make sure it's not too much to where it still feels like it's your student's essay. And definitely just allow your students to learn the skills of life. This is kind of like their first step going on their own. So this is gonna be a good tool for them to use as a starting point and also throughout their life. And a big one, avoid saying we are applying to college. It is your student that is applying to college, not you all as a whole. So make sure if you are communicating with college reps or sending emails, you try to avoid the we are applying to college statement. And now we're gonna do another activity. So where do you want to attend college? So click on the map where you are kind of leaning more to attending college. If you are thinking of any schools out of the country, just kind of put the pin somewhere in the white area. And we have about 7 seconds.
Alaska.
So yeah, as you see, California has the biggest, but yeah, there's a lot of options here.
All right, go ahead and take a seat. We've got a few more things to cover, and then I promise we're gonna get you out of here soon. Good evening, everybody. My name is Miss Salai. I'm one of the newest counselors here at Mater Dei. I did my undergrad at the University of La Verne, go Leos, and my grad program at the University of San Diego. At ULV, I was part of Psychi, which is the Psychology Honor Society. And every finals week, we put on a bunch of activities for our students, anything from like making stress balls to coloring activities to de-stressing stations and things of the like. And that was always one of my favorite things to be a part of. All right, so we want to talk a little bit about the college timeline. Juniors, you guys probably won't be submitting applications until obviously the fall of your senior year, but that's not when we want you to start, right? And so as all of you received tonight, there is a college timeline, there's a checklist that you received, and so this is kind of a snapshot of what we're looking at in the coming months, right? So in February and March, you guys are hopefully scheduling your meetings with us, your one-on-one 45-minute meetings, where you'll get to meet with us. We will talk you through the college application process, and we'll help you build a list. Later on in the spring, you're going to be requesting your letter of recommendation, as it was mentioned earlier. For those of you considering a test, you're going to take an SAT or an ACT, and we can also guide you through the decision-making process for those tests. And then in the summer, just at the beginning, you're going to be finishing up those brag sheets. If you're a student athlete looking to compete at the collegiate level, we're going to recommend that you register with the NCAA, right? And then when you're in the thick of the summer, after you've gone to the beach a few times, you're going to finish your list, you're going to finalize your list. We want you to start thinking about your essays and registering for your common application. And then as soon as August 1st of your senior year is when applications will open. That's this August 1st, okay? So what do we need to consider when we're talking about essays? We want you to start thinking about brainstorming some of these topics. And as it was mentioned before, there are certain topics that you could consider, including your passions, things that you've been a part of for many, many years that hold a special place in your heart, overcoming challenges. If you have something unique, maybe you started a small business, or you're part of a rock band that you've been together and you've toured, right? Something unique, you can talk about that. Or certain family circumstances that maybe have impacted your educational journey or your pathways. In English classes, the teachers often have an assignment where you're doing a personal narrative, and this can also be a really great first start, right? So think about all these options and topics to consider. The Common Application has a section where you will have to provide a personal statement of the like, or just a general essay. They give you 7 questions and you get to choose one of those. And those can range anywhere from talking about challenges, passions, what you love learning, or a unique circumstance. And so this is your opportunity, as the counselors have mentioned before, to share your story. The UC application also has a section that's called the Personal Insight Questions, and it's very similar to Common App in that they give you 8 questions, but here you have to answer 4 of them. And they're asking very similar things too, right? So it is in your best interest to start brainstorming some of these things. If you Google Common App questions, you'll get the list of 7 questions that were on this year's Common Application, and we don't anticipate that they're going to change much, if anything at all. Same thing with the UC. If you were to Google UC PIQs, it'll take you to the University of California website where they have a link to a worksheet, which is actually really cool because it will guide you through each question to break it down and help you understand what it is they're trying to get at, what it is they're trying to understand. For instance, if there's a leadership question in there, they're not asking students to define leadership, right? They're asking students to provide examples and how that's impacted their life. And then the College Essay Guide. If anybody's ever heard of this organization, it's a really great tool. Tons of free resources on their website. So you can Google the College Essay Guide. There's a section right at the top of free resources. Some examples of those resources are articles like 9 ways to start your essay, or 21 essay topics and ideas. So tons and tons of information out there. And then here at Modern Day, we've got a lot of resources too. We want you to start with your counselors, right? We're the first person to contact to help guide you on your path. We also have things like an events calendar that we maintain that has things like our annual college fair listed. If you didn't come this last year, we invite you to mark your calendars in October. It's going to happen again this year. And we also hold in-person and virtual rep visits. So we'll have college admissions reps like Chelsea come on campus and meet with our students, often during lunchtime, and then they'll also carve out time to meet with the counselors. They get to give us some updates, information on special programs and things of the like. We also have things like college chats and college awareness night, which is coming up, and case studies. So we invite you to mark your calendars when those come up. We have a whole resource page dedicated to providing you as much information as possible to help this process be as seamless and as stress-less, not stress-free, because some stress is good, but stress-less as possible. And then we also offer essay reviews throughout. All right, so financial aid. As many, I'm sure, are aware, college is expensive, and it's not getting cheaper, right? You can have a cost of attendance fee upwards of $90,000 a year, and that's an average for some of these private colleges for sure. Obviously, public schools are cheaper, but sometimes we have to ask the question, are students going to be able to get out in 4 years and things like that. So there's a few different factors to consider when you talk about affordability at college. So one of the biggest things that we recommend students and families do is hop on these college websites, and when you're doing that research, trying to find out if it's a good fit, you want to go on their search engine and type in net price calculator or net cost calculator. Every single college and university website by law has to have this tool on their website. Many will have it on their admissions page. Some will have it on their financial aid page. But essentially what it is, it's a tool to help you determine the affordability for that particular college, right? They'll ask you some questions for your student, like grades, GPA, if you have any test scores, and then family's income and maybe some asset information. And then it'll give you a spit out of a very, very broad general possible what a financial aid award might look like at this school, right? It's important to note that this is not an official financial aid award offer, but it does help you to kind of see what you might be eligible for in terms of merit and need-based aid at that particular school, right? And so that's a really important resource to use. Whether you think you're going to need financial aid or not, I always recommend that families complete the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid. That is through the Department of Education, and we know that it's kind of tumultuous times right now. We don't know what's going to happen, but we're keeping a close eye on all things Department of Ed. For now, we're going to operate like business as usual, and so we want to encourage you to be mindful of the October 1st date, which is when the FAFSA opens up. This is a free application that will ask you for personal information, students' personal information, income information for what they call prior year. So 2 years prior to the year that your student is aiming to start college. So juniors, if you're starting college in the fall of 2026, you're going to be providing tax information from the year 2024. Okay, CSS profile, similar to the FAFSA, is a financial aid application that some colleges will require, not everyone. And so FAFSA is free, but CSS is not. That is a paid service, so you only want to complete the FAFSA for the schools that actually require it. And then we've got a whole host of scholarships, both in these universities and colleges and outside. So currently we're working on putting together a website that will hopefully house as much resources on outside scholarships as possible, but we always want to encourage students to apply to as many outside scholarships as possible. So once you're sort of done with the college application process, we want you to shift your attention to start getting some of that free money, because One thing that I hear all the time is that millions and millions of dollars go unawarded every year in scholarship money. And so we want to make sure that you have access to some of that, okay? And then testing benefits. What you might start to see with some of these schools is they may have merit scholarship offers for students who meet certain criteria, right? Even if they're test optional, they might say, hey, if you've got, for example, a 3.8 GPA and a 28 ACT, you might be eligible for $10,000 in a merit scholarship. So that can also factor into our conversation about whether to take the SAT, ACT, or not, okay? So we want to make this a very real part of your college research process, and part of the conversation is sitting down as a family and discussing how much can we afford and how much can we help you in your college goals and dreams, right? I know it's an uncomfortable conversation, but one that definitely needs to happen. And then, as I mentioned, always apply for financial aid, whether you think you qualify or not. All right, so I'm going to pass this back to Mrs. Healy.
Okay, I'm back. I did want to mention, I went to Loyola University Chicago for my master's, and my favorite part was meeting my husband. And I wouldn't have met him had I not been rejected or denied from my top schools. So there you go. Sometimes there is a purpose, and now we have a beautiful family, 2 kids, about to be at Mater Dei in a couple years. So I'm going to talk about independent consultants, aka outside college counselors, aka very, very expensive people that tell you to apply to different schools, right? So do you need to hire an independent counselor, or what we call an IEC? You have to ask yourself this question, students and parents, if you know your students really well. Will you come in and ask questions when you need help? Will you attend your required meetings with your counselor? Will you attend all the events hosted by the Mater Dei Counseling Department, especially as it relates to college admissions? Will you utilize your resources here on campus and our counseling portal? Will you schedule other meetings with your counselor if needed? Will you do those things? Will you do those things willingly? And will you not fight with your parents about what they're trying to help you do? Then you don't need one. Because guess what? You have your counselor, you have a whole team. Even if you are, assigned to a counselor here, we all consult. We all work together. We have parents and students going to different counselors, and that's okay, right? Of course you have your assigned counselor, but we work as a team and we support one another. So you have a good group here to help you through this process. And then I do want to mention what's called the culture of care. So we're asking our Mater Dei community to come together with a mutual outlook and behaviors to promote a supportive environment for our students. So thinking about refraining or sharing or comparing your list with one another. Wait till you're off campus or at home to open any admissions decisions or notifications. Celebrate every admissions decision. And just be mindful of what you post on social media, not just about colleges or whatnot, but just your own persona. Colleges do view this. They can't see what you're posting on social media, and even if it's Snapchat or you think it gets deleted, it doesn't. So just be mindful of what you post. If you don't want your grandparents to see what you're doing or what have you, or even those fake Instagrams, don't do it, okay? It's not worth it, and it's really a waste of time, in my opinion. Okay, take out your devices. Now, I'd like to ask you, how stressed are you about the college process now that you've learned all that you've learned from the presentation tonight? Okay, half now are not going to wake up at night in cold sweats. Hey, that's a big accomplishment. Good job, you. Good job. And then, any questions so far? But before, go ahead and type your answers. And as we're waiting, I'm going to have Mr. Chang, who is his specialty is testing coordinator, and we all have specialties. His is a test, so he's going to talk a little bit about how we are preparing our students for the SAT and ACT.
Another fun fact, I read for admissions for UC Irvine last year. I didn't read it this coming year, but if you have questions about the UC process, this is you too. We're all, yeah. A lot of people do that. So just a fun fact. We had a handout, Revolution Practice ACT or Practice SAT. The Practice ACT is going to be on 2/22, and then digital SAT is on 3/29. They'll be at Mater Dei. If you want to have like a testing environment similar to those actuals, you can come and register for those exams. Another thing to remember is if you are interested in taking these exams, look into registering very soon. Some students are driving to San Diego, to the Inland Empire, very far away, the morning of or getting home until the night before because they waited a long time to register for the test. So look into that maybe this weekend and see if that works out for you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to call all our speakers up here as we start to answer questions. I did this for shy people, but we're happy to answer any questions from the audience. So let's see, no questions. How was your day today? Oh, thank you. Do you have a copy of the PowerPoints? We will send the copy of the PowerPoint, and this is being recorded, so we will send the video out, especially a lot of people weren't able to come tonight. Can I have the counselors come up here? So I don't have to answer all the questions. Okay, how important are summer programs between junior and senior year? Chelsea, what do you think? What do you think? You read these apps.
All right. Is it on?
Good. Let's see. Hello. There you go. Can you hear me? Okay, come up here.
So how important are the pre-college programs? I think it just depends on what you're interested in doing. Especially like if you're interested in film. Film's super competitive and it's helpful to have experience. So I do know there are schools that offer that pre-college program for specific programs like film, engineering, and all of that. There are schools that require portfolios too, and so it's helpful to do these experiences through, whatever you find, because that could actually help you create that portfolio too for that application. But it also, we are keeping in mind the student experience because pre-college programs may not be accessible to everybody. So it just, depends on the individual, what they're interested in, how much access that they have. But we do look at the applications holistically to give us an idea of, maybe they had other things going on in their lives. But it is something that we do take notice if a student has completed pre-college programs.
Thank you. And then I did want to mention, I visited Caltech recently, and this is a quote that I love from the director of admissions at Caltech. The pay-to-play or the pay-to-research programs are trash. She literally said that. So you don't need to pay a lot of money to do summer programs. You can intern, you can volunteer, and just because you did a summer program at Stanford or Harvard, it won't guarantee admissions or it might not even help you, but other schools it may. So really be judicious about the summer programs that you're looking into and make sure it fits your time and budget and what you want to do. What is the Excel? Like in general? There we go. Where is the Excel? Obviously, I need reading glasses. It will be on our website. It is on our website under counseling. And then if there's a little box called college, it will be under college prep documents. Recently, an independent counselor said not to bother with testing because most schools are test blind or optional. Who would like to answer that question? Yeah, go for it.
Okay, the UCs and the CSUs are test blind, so they will not look at a SAT or ACT score. There are many schools, and they're changing every year, and usually they're not going to change it right now on you for the next season for SATs, but many of them are moving towards that. That's why there's that spreadsheet, you can fill it up, it says SATs required, ACTs required, optional, but I would say that there are more and more schools coming in from out of COVID that are making it more and more a factor. Some are doing it also for STEM fields. They will definitely want to look at that math portion. So just something to take into consideration. I would recommend take scholarships. Also, some schools unlock scholarships from the SAT or ACT.
Yeah, we're moving towards really recommending that our students take it it can be a back pocket test. You never know when you can need it. So you might as well have it, right? And it's only a small portion of your time. I think we didn't mention this, but usually we recommend 2 tests so that you can super score, but no more than 3. Do not make this your extracurricular activity, okay? You can do more, like better, more meaningful things than testing and test prep. Okay, another question. How does unweighted GPA compare to weighted GPA? Anybody want to answer that? Go ahead, yeah.
So weighted and unweighted GPAs, on the transcript, there's 2 or 3 different ways that you can look at your GPA, and colleges will look at all of them. They will factor what they are looking into the most for their school's priorities. And the weighted just means here at Mater Dei and a lot of schools acknowledge that an honors or AP class is a lot more work. It has that responsibility of having that weighted perk, that benefit that you've earned by having an honors class. But an A is still a strong grade. And so a weighted A is can make it possible to be above a 4.0, but the highest you can get unweighted is a 4.0 maximum. So they do look at both. Colleges will look to see at what rigor are you taking and what grades are you getting. So there's no way to trick the colleges into thinking, oh my gosh, I have straight B's, but I still have a 4.1 GPA. It's still, they're going to look at both and see how does that weighted, unweighted calculation pan out. Yeah.
So is it more important, like, if you get a B in an AP class versus an A in a non-AP class, what are colleges going to look at? I mean, obviously you want to try to be A in an AP class, but is it better to take the AP class even if you end up with B in it?
Yeah, that's definitely a question I've gotten for the past 20 years or so. Anybody want to answer? Want me to answer? I can answer that. So yes, we talked about rigor, okay? And we talked about, remember that little game we played, you didn't take any APs or honors because you wanted to protect your GPA. Know that in order, to be prepared for college, and if you can manage it, you do want to challenge yourself. They do want to see that you're challenging yourself, but not so much that it's impacting your mental health, your well-being, you're staying up till 2 a.m. either, right? And if you worked, students, really hard to get that B in a college level course, guess what? That's great, because you don't get weighted grades in college. A B is a B, and that's probably the best, that you can do. So I would encourage you to make sure that you're challenging yourself appropriately. I always use the Goldilocks metaphor, where it's not too hard, not too soft, just right. And your counselors can help you find that balance. And senior year is important. Some people are like, oh, I'm just going to chill my senior year. Yeah, that's not going to happen. We're going to help you still maintain rigor, still challenge yourself, also maintaining that sense of self and well-being where you can still do the activities that you're passionate about. Does that answer your question? Yeah, no problem. And I will say that colleges, I don't know I can't remember what LMU does, will just chop up your GPA and recompute no matter what. UCs do it, Cal States do it, USD do it, does LMU do it? You take our GPA, some will take our, we don't know, I can't even remember, honestly. So don't worry about what the colleges do with your GPA, just do the best you can in the classes that you're taking. Does that make sense? Yes? Okay, the question was, that's a great question. How do colleges look at junior year grades versus freshman year when you just got out of middle school and you have no idea what you're doing in high school, right? Does anybody want to take that? Yeah.
So colleges will be looking at trends. So it's an upward trend if how they're doing coming out of middle school. And then we also know the context of COVID and the lockdown. These students were all in middle school during that time, so we're aware high school could have been difficult for some students transitioning back to in-person and getting back into the academics. Most colleges are going to be looking at the most recent academic. So we'll notice a trend, like maybe a student has an upward trend, but we're looking at how they're doing. So be mindful of that trend, because also if it's a downward trend, that first semester, senior year and you've been doing great up until that point, and then you kind of just petered out just recently, and you just checked out for the senior year, schools are gonna notice that. So keep that in mind in terms of your trends. Is it up, is it down, is it consistent? So we'll be looking at that.
There was a comment about impacting majors.
Yes.
How do you find out what are the impacting majors of your schools?
Okay, the question is, how do you find out about which majors are impacted at various schools? I will tell you that the Cal States, there, you can Google that and it will tell you exactly which ones are impacted. It'll be most. But that's a good question to ask the colleges. Sometimes that's not posted on the websites. So when college reps come to campus, when you are at a college fair, when you visit campus, that's a good question to ask. I even ask as so much as like, oh, you have nursing, how many spots do you have in nursing? You have computer science, what are your most popular majors? Oh, okay, how many spots do you typically take? Because that'll tell you, you know, the likelihood. You can have a general likelihood for college admissions, but then when you drill it down to the major, for example, film at LMU is gonna have a much lower acceptance rate than the general admissions, right? So it's a matter of space, how many professors can teach classes. So yeah, that's a great question, but that's something that you just have to ask the campuses and the representatives. That's why we have relationships with these representatives, because that's the information that they can provide for you. Yes? Yeah, that's a great question. The question was, do you recommend having a separate email account for colleges? Yes. So you can create as many Gmails, right? So what I would do is create a Gmail account for just interests. Just, you know, because you're gonna get bombarded by emails. I would not use your modern day email unless you're really good at managing all those emails and spam. So you can create one specifically for colleges, and then when you apply, a separate one just for applications, and give that email address or the login to your parents. And I only say that because you don't want to miss emails from colleges. I've had students before miss amazing opportunities like getting off a denial list for a very competitive program, and they just didn't check their email to do it, so they missed it. I think they still track it based on name. Can you speak on that? Yeah.
So in higher education, most colleges, universities use a CRM system called Slate. And so if there's multiple accounts, we'll merge them. And so like if you have a profile with one email address and you change it to something else, it'll just show the email address as like the most priority and list it, but they'll know it's the same person based off the name, middle, like all the information. I've only had one situation where it was the same person, like same first name, same last name, same middle initial, and same birthday. And then that was like, they weren't different people, but the majority, that's not gonna happen. We're gonna be able to figure that out.
Any other questions? Yes, back there. We are working on that. Once we finalize some programs, we'll let our students know and parents. Yeah. The question was, will we have an essay or college? We usually call those college boot camps. So we're working on it. Nothing finalized yet. Yes, back there.
If they're taking the practice test for ACT the end of February, then the SAT the end of March, when should they take their first real SAT or SAT?
Yeah, Susan, you want it? Where's my testing coordinator here?
So the Revolution Prep and there's other testing programs out there. They might have an 8-week, 10-week, 12-week boot camp, and that might be something that you look into. You can also look at the window of when the next available test date is and see if that fits into your schedule. So it's up to you. The SAT and ACT cover Algebra 2 Trig. So if you are currently in that class, you might want to wait until that's done to take an official. It's up to you, and if you've already taken that, then as far as math content goes, you should be good to go. These tests also cover physics, chemistry, and biology, so if you want to brush up on those classes or you're currently taking some of those classes, that might also help you round out your academic knowledge.
I'll add to that. So typically juniors, you should be taking one either March, April, May, or June. At least one, if not two, but don't take that cold. You can take as many practice tests as you want. That's fine, but once you pay and sit down for the official test, you should be ready. So I would reverse engineer and work 8 weeks backwards to prep. There's paid prep, there's also free prep. Khan Academy, ACT has their own free prep. You can get books. I always recommend signing up for a test prep. I don't get paid by test prep companies. I just think it's helpful to be accountable in a class, or they give you a schedule. And then if you have a goal in mind, which I would have, then they can help you reach that goal. And then you can also take one in the fall if you're not happy with your test early in the fall. And some schools, Baylor for example, I can't think of another one, but they will let you test all the way up until the summer before you actually attend for more scholarship money. So that's another question I would ask the colleges. What's the last test date you will receive or take, and will you still allow me, students, because you should be asking this, to take a test all the way up until May or June before I start for more scholarships? These are all great questions. Any other questions? It's about 7:30. Thank you for your time. Thank you to our speakers here. We appreciate you, and we're here for you. So good luck, and we'll see you at your appointments. Thank you so much.